Hi, I'm Shay Walker, and you're listening to Modern Day Magic Makers, a podcast dedicated to rebranding magic from the mystical fantasy world of your childhood to a more modern incarnation, where spells and rituals take on many forms, and magic makers include people of all walks of life, just looking to shift the energy in the world. Tune in for inspiring interviews, recommended rituals, and magic-making mentors of past, present, and fiction. Stay tuned for some modern day magic. Hello and welcome to the first episode of Modern Day Magic Makers. We're actually currently doing this a little bit out of sequence because we've already recorded episode 2 and 3 with interviews, but I wanted to include a first episode to give you a little backstory on myself and what I decided to come up with modern day magic making for. So I am Shay Walker. I currently live in the city of Chicago and work as a yoga instructor, a manifestation coach, and a Reiki healer. So my world is very new agey, very mystical, very magical, but it wasn't the world that I grew up in. I grew up in a small town in Indiana with cows and cornfields and parents who thought it was weird enough that I went vegan, let alone that I now practice a energetic healing art. They're very supportive, but it's definitely not an upbringing that introduced me to the type of concepts that I now deal with on a daily basis. But I was always really intrigued with the idea of magic, sort of in that childlike form. I loved any movies about witches and spells and magical potions and practical magic, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Craft, Bell Book and Candle, all kinds of different depictions of these sort of magical women that were able to perform certain rituals to get the results that they wanted out of life. And, there was a certain time during middle school and high school that I kind of dabbled in the more traditional Wiccan, pagan type atmosphere. I grew up Christian, but I wanted to kind of participate in that magic making. And so I would look up spells online back in the early days of AOL and Yahoo. And I would look up things, mostly love spells, to try and get my current crush to pay attention to me. But nothing that grand, nothing that energy shifting. And eventually I gravitated away from it because it just didn't feel authentic to me. I felt like I was playing a costume or something. However, now these days, I find myself comparing my current rituals to the things that I was so intrigued by as a child. And I started to realize that there's a new brand of magic that doesn't necessarily fit into any particular category of Wiccan or wizard or fantasy or any of those things. The new brand of modern day magic is just you finding the rituals, and if you want to call them spells, to unlock the parts of yourself that allow you to live the life that you want to live. And you can apply this to any type of lifestyle. It doesn't even have to be yogic or Reiki or into the healing arts or the mystical sort of meditations or concepts or new ageness. You can know nothing about crystals. You can know nothing about mantras. You can know nothing about all of the concept that I myself currently align with, and you can still create your own version of modern day magic. It's all about allowing yourself to embrace the power of the rituals in your life and the power behind your words and your thoughts. So I teach a class called Manifestation Friday Night here in Chicago, and it's based on the concept of the law of attraction, that your thoughts create your reality. And your words and the things that you put out in the world help to support the things that you're bringing back to you. So the more that you can have positive thoughts and positive words coming out of your mouth, the more positive things you have returning to you. And in the world of self-help, it's always helpful to find some rituals and some new habits when you're trying to shift your focus. So oftentimes I'll recommend to clients to start a gratitude journal, or to begin a meditation practice. These are rituals. They may not be sort of clothed in darkness and mysticism and candles and chanting. Well, meditation sometimes has some chanting. They may not look as magical as the witchy movies of my childhood, but they are just as powerful. And so I've started to sort of have fun with allowing myself to think of these rituals that I use as making magic. And if I want to picture myself in like a pointy hat and a long robe and just like feel that witchy powerfulness that I admired as a child, if I want to imagine that I'm, Sabrina the Teenage Witch or any of the witches that I idolized growing up, that's fine. It can be my own brand. It can be my own, whatever brings a sparkle to your practice is what you should embrace. And so for me, my own form of modern day magic includes dabbling in astrology, keeping up to date on what's happening with the moon cycles, and allowing myself to sync my rituals with the power of the moon. We can talk a little bit about that in coming episodes. I also have a very strong meditation practice. I find that mudras are super powerful and super magical. I'm a Reiki healer. So I deal on a daily basis with the concept that I am channeling a healing energy into my clients, which is pretty magical. My own Reiki teacher said that when she first got attuned, which is what you refer to getting initiated to the Reiki energy, when she first started doing Reiki, she said she couldn't help but marvel at her magic hands. And that's how I kind of feel too. I also have a very magical yoga practice where I can feel my energy shift from in a funk and in a bad mood the second that I walk in the door. And as soon as I sit down on my mat and start to breathe, it becomes a positive, bright, and sunny day. These are all magical practices. And I'd love to share with you some of my own magical techniques. I'd also like to answer any questions that you might have on more traditional magical practices, crystals, essential oils, meditations, moon phases, spells, rituals, candle magic, whatever it is that you want to know about. I will either tell you my own experience or go and find an expert to allow you to educate yourself and find your own rituals. In addition to all of this talk, I will be bringing on people that I consider modern-day magic makers. Again, this runs the gamut. A modern-day magic maker is simply someone who is working to shift the energy of the world in a positive way. My first two interviews are with two very different subjects. The first is with Camille Virginia of Girl Gets Date. She is a dating expert, and we're going to be talking about the magic of allure and how to attract love into your life. My second interview guest in episode 3 is Nick Conrad of The Green Suite. He is a eco-warrior, a zombie survival specialist, and he's working on a project that I'll let you find out in the episode, but it's pretty cool, pretty groovy, and it's all working towards the idea that we can make small, subtle shifts to improve the environment, to improve the world, and to change the way that we interact with the things around us. So I hope that you will join me for the next several episodes, as well as those that follow. And if you would like to join a little modern-day magic-making community, you can go to www.facebook.com/groups/Modern Day Magic Makers to join the Modern Day Magic Maker group, which is full of discussions on astrology, crystals, anything that we want to talk about, and it's where I get a lot of questions for this podcast. To learn more about me, you can go to michelleshaywalker.com, and I hope that if you enjoy this episode and those that follow, that you'll subscribe on iTunes, maybe check out some of the video elements on my YouTube page. You can find that link through my website, and share with your friends. Maybe leave a review or a comment. Until next time, I hope that you are finding ways to create your own brand of modern day magic.